I wish I would have did this when I was 30. I had no idea. I thought I just had to wait this long. You don't.
Yeah, don't wait.
Don't wait. Do it. You can have a couple bucks with you though, but you don't have to be rich. Just come over here and start a new living, start a new life.
It's not as scary as everyone thinks it is.
Welcome to the Nomadic Abundance Podcast. Slow travel tips and inspiration for living an abundant life abroad. We're Joel and Michelle, your hosts, and we've been traveling full-time since 2019. We're on a mission to help digital nomads, early retirees, and others, perhaps even yourselves, to incorporate slow or full-time travel seamlessly into your work or retirement life for a more abundant lifestyle. You can find the Nomadic Abundance Podcast on YouTube and soon your favorite podcast app. For more information, be sure to check the show notes where you'll find links to everything we discussed in the episode. So first off, we wanted to mention that this episode actually went really long, so we had to make some cuts on it in order to try to keep it closer to about an hour. If you're interested in hearing the full extended version of this, you can check out nomadicabundance.com. Now on with the show. So today we're joined by Eric and Jamie, two American expats and owners of the Dick and Devil's Pub in Saranda, Albania. They will chat with us today about why they chose to leave the United States, moving abroad to the Balkans, starting a business as foreigners in Albania, and living an abundant life abroad. So welcome. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us just a little bit about your previous life back in the United States.
I'm Eric, originally grown up in Pennsylvania, till 17 years old, went to the Air Force, 10 years. Got out, I moved to Colorado, had a business, moved back to Pennsylvania, had a business, ended up moving to Florida because it was too cold in Pennsylvania, and lived there for 18 years with a business, ended up selling the business to a bartender over a 30-minute conversation, and that worked out, and that was had really nothing to do with COVID, but I'm sure maybe it did a little bit, I don't know. And then I had this buck up my ass about moving to Corfu when I retired, and I wanted to retire at 55, and somehow we got out of there when I was 55, and then we'll get to the other Corfu part later.
And I'm Jamie. I also grew up in Pennsylvania, lived in Colorado for a couple of years, moved to Florida when I was 20, 2003, and have been there pretty much the whole time until we decided to leave. Met Eric there, worked with him in his business. COVID thing kind of happened, and I'm fly by the seat of my pants anyways, but I decided when he wanted to go to Corfu that I was definitely going to try that. So we came up with a quick, short plan and basically booked tickets and did it. So here we are.
So what prompted you guys to actually move over here?
Well, he was in the Air Force, so he was stationed in
Brindisi, Italy, southern Italy, and we used to go to Corfu all the time, because it was so easy and we could, and we were young.
That was kind of his idea ever since I met him. He always said, if I ever disappear, I'm going to be in Corfu. And I said, well, you better not disappear and not take me with. So in our relationship and moving forward, he's, like I said, it just has always said it. And then it came down to it. And he's like, let's do it. Like, we'll sell the business. This is what we're going to do. He's like, get on board. And I said, when should I start selling? So basically our timeline from the beginning was to come over to Corfu in about March. That was going to be our idea.
Of
21?
21, right?
I think it was 21.
It had to be, yeah.
Yeah. So that was our goal. Because we had to sell the business. I mean, we had a house full of stuff. It's amazing how much stuff you can accumulate.
Yeah.
Just like every American, if you have the space, you fill it. So, yes. But we figured if we would come over in March, that would be enough time for us. It would still be slow season, according to the little bit of research we did. So we'd be able to get comfortable with the area, find something, and kind of just start from there. But it ended up that the business sold much quicker, and instead of March, we ended up coming over November 1st. So it kind of escalated pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was a conversation with that bartender guy I told you about, and he was interested in buying a business, and he was not concerned, but very interested in, he asked me, he goes, what are you going to do with the business? I just had a bad day or something. And I said, I'm out of here, man. I'm done. I got to go. He's like, what do you do with the business? And I said, well, I'm trying to sell it. And he goes, give me 1 minute. Anyway, by the time she even showed up to lunch, which was 30 minutes later, it was done. Handshake deal, done. He goes, and that was that. I'm like, And then I said, well, let's finish this up by September 18th, which is my birthday. That's when the deal was done. That was a nice birthday present. And then she sold all the stuff. Well, as much as we could. Some of it's in storage, but very little. And then we left on November 1st, as opposed to March 1st.
Wow.
Which was even better.
Yeah, that's a really accelerated timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So,
I left him alone for 30 minutes and the business the business was sold. I walked in and he's just like, well, Zach's buying the business. And I was like, huh? So I'm like,
good.
well, that escalates things. I'm like, how much longer?
That was in August, and that was an
That was,
August
yeah.
conversation, but we tied it all up and by September, and then we had a month to get rid of everything, and then we were out of Florida in November 1st.
Yeah,
Wow, so you guys got rid of
Everything.
everything in a month?
pretty much.
Yeah,
Once,
she's a good hustler on selling stuff on Marketplace. I would recommend that to anybody. Don't ever have a yard sale, because that's just dumb. But on Marketplace, people, you set up a time, they show the picture, they know the price, they show up and pick it up, good to go. Don't have to waste your time.
Wow.
It took us 6
That's
months.
amazing. Yeah. It
Well,
took
we
us
have
6
some
months
stuff
to
in
do it.
storage,
Yeah.
but what a percentage? 30% of what we had?
yeah, maybe. I would say maybe 30%. And really the biggest thing was we had a giant shuffleboard table and that didn't sell right away. So my father came down and he took the shuffleboard table and also the microvan, but he has that stuff. But he was able to sell the shuffleboard table then a couple months later. So it kind of worked out. And then other than that, it was just,
By the
a
way,
couple.
there's a 2006 Subaru microvan for sale if anyone wants that. Excellent condition, 56,000 miles.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
did you had a house to sell too?
No,
Right?
No.
Or no? Oh,
We
you didn't?
rented.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that then made it
That
a
helps
little
a
bit
lot,
easier.
Yeah. The business, probably the van and the shuffleboard table were like the bigger items.
Yeah, everything else is nickel dime stuff.
Yeah,
Could have been a
because
chair.
I
this and that.
think you actually sold the Lincoln to,
Well, that was part of the business deal. Yeah.
he sold his car to the kid that bought the business as well. And then my car, my mother just took over the payments basically. So that was kind of an easy solution for that. So the bigger items mostly found homes pretty quickly.
Well, we got a power of attorney
What, you-
for all our stuff, and we have a good friend who's the power of attorney for her accounts, my accounts, and the vehicles if anything comes in. So it's always, you have to have a power of attorney. You can't. Clearly, there's no mailing address, which we'll get to later here, but you have to have a power of attorney there.
So then let's talk about, so you mentioned that originally your plan was to go to Corfu, but you ended up in Albania. So like walk us through that. What happened there?
Yeah. What happened there?
Well, booked the tickets for Corfu. We got to Corfu, stayed in a hotel for a few days, which was right next to the airport, luckily. We did find more of a long-term place to stay shortly after, maybe a week or two after we got there. And then the plan still being in Corfu was to stay there and figure out a way to get around the visa situation. And we kind of figured that we're Americans, so we can do whatever we want, you know? We talked to the Greek consulate in Tampa over the phone, and she was basically like, yeah, go, you're gonna have a great time, everything will be cool. And we're like, are you sure you understand exactly what we said? Because we wanna stay there. We don't wanna, like, this isn't just a vacation trip.
Right.
Like, our plan is to stay there. She's like, yeah, you'll figure it out. So we get there and we talk to a couple of immigration lawyers and people that help to set these things up. And they basically told us, unless you have bags of money, no.
Okay.
Yeah. And because we're not married, it would have been double because
Oh, right.
he
So
would
each-
have to and I would have to fork up the money to be able to do the visa, which I
I think it was
believe,
500,000 each.
Oh, wow.
or like a
Was it
250,000
250 each and
investment.
500?
One
250,
was
yeah, it was something
one was an
crazy.
investment,
Okay.
and then
Like on property.
yes,
Okay.
Whether we had it or didn't have it, it's beside the point. They weren't getting it.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like the golden visa, I guess.
that
Right.
would be the golden visa. Yeah.
However, they still said you had to an attorney said you still had to redo it in 5 years. I'm like, I'm not jiving with that.
Yeah. So we kind of hit the brick wall there. Spent some time in just like driving around and exploring the island and being on the water. We're staring across at Albania, and we've heard a couple stories about Albania, but he likes to go look at the boats. It's like, there's a boat that goes over there. So once we were trying to figure out where we were going to go next, what our next steps were going to be, because obviously Corfu wasn't going to work. We just took a weekend trip over here kind of just to check it out and get away. I mean, I've never even heard of Albania before, honestly. So,
Well, in the days when I was stationed in Italy, we couldn't go here because it was pre-91.
Right. Yeah.
So
Still under communist or...
yeah. So we took a ferry over, stayed in like, I would call it, I guess, a guest house kind of thing. I think it was maybe 14 euros a night or something, which was
Pretty nice.
yeah, which I did find on Airbnb. So, but I was looking at it and I'm like, well, this is going to be a really nice, cheap weekend trip.
well, it would have been November too. So that's, as we know now, that's the number that you're looking for. And
Oh, yeah. So we came over, spent a couple days, really enjoyed it. It was actually super surprising when we got off the boat and you're just looking around, you're like, this is really nice. And you just felt comfortable. Like even the first day of being here, I felt really comfortable anyways. And then we kind of did a little more research, and after talking to a couple people, yeah, I think you looked something up somehow. And he was like,
Eric's making faces.
yeah. He's like, do you know that we can stay there for a year? Like you get a year visa up front. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So basically that trip kind of sealed the deal. We went back to Corfu, kind of sat over a couple beers like we do every day. But he's like, so are we moving to Albania? And I'm like, I think so. So in that weekend trip pretty much sealed it. We came back over for another long weekend, probably about a week later. Looked at a couple apartments and found the apartment that we're still in now. Basically sealed the deal on that. We didn't do all the lease paperwork or anything until we were back later in December, but found the apartment, shook hands, did a couple trips over on the boat to unload the stuff that we did accumulate while we were there.
Right.
Plus, I mean, we came over with 2 big bags of luggage and a carry-on anyway, so we had some stuff and then accumulated more in Corfu in that short period of time somehow. So I did a couple trips and then basically hired a cab to meet us at the port. One of the boat ladies let us keep our stuff and store it in one of the offices there.
Okay.
So
that's nice.
yeah, it was really nice. A chick would meet me. I'd bring like 2 bags, and one of the girls would meet me. She'd unlock it and go in and just drop it off. So we had like a little stash.
well, being
Sitting
November,
there.
it was off season, so there was no
Right.
problem. All she had to do was meet us there. And
Right.
she knitted her hat and everything was fine. December 20th was our final move and here permanently, starting December 20th.
Yep. So that's how we found Albania. Complete accident.
Cool.
I love it.
Totally unexpected.
Happy surprise.
Yeah. It did turn out to be a really good surprise. And Corfu's nice. Corfu town is cool. The rest of the island's just completely closed in the winter, though. I mean, there's nothing else happening over there. So, and the sun sets when it goes down on the other side of the mountain. So it's so dark and cold so early over there, which it's much nicer being over here as far as like the cost of living here compared to Corfu. And we thought Corfu was more affordable than the States. And then we came here and we're like, oh, this is even better. And we get a sunset and an amazing view.
And see Corfu every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can go there in 30 minutes if you want to.
Yeah. And a year-long visa.
Yeah.
Any girl want to be.
Yeah.
So there were it was
And overall, it
Just
just
an
doesn't suck.
opportunity.
It
Yeah.
doesn't suck here.
big opportunity that we didn't even know was an option. It found us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, if you want to talk a little bit about the cost of living, and you were saying that, obviously Corfu is significantly less than the States, and then Saranda even cheaper. Like, what would you, I guess, and it's not non-scientific here, but how much cheaper would you say that your life here in like Saranda is versus what doing the same things back in Florida?
75%. Easy right off the bat.
Wow.
75% less.
Yeah.
We had a nice crib. We had a nice lifestyle that we have here anyway. We'd be doing it even if we didn't have the business, but easy 75% less right off the bat. If you were bringing in $2,000 a month, you're living a great life here. And you can do it for less.
Right, obviously, because the locals do. They live for less.
Well, there's a long story to that, as everyone knows. But yeah, I mean, if you're an expat or something and you're a nomad, which I really didn't even have any idea what that even was, even if you could do it, because I don't pay attention. But if you're traveling around, I mean, like, yeah, you could live large here you could probably live great for $1,500, but $2,000 would be nice.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty close to what we've experienced in our time here too.
I mean, Greece, we could do it if they made it easier with the visa, but
Right.
it doesn't matter anymore because we ended up here, so it's even better. And I probably would end up here anyway, and I'm glad it worked out that way because now we do have the sunset. We have I can see Corfu. I can be there in 30 minutes if I want to or whatnot. And plus, it's a mainland over here, and we can go to. There's so many places you go to, and you can be in Greece, the mainland Greece, in 45 minutes. You'd probably be in, north of Albania in 3 hours. There's so many other countries that are locked.
And when he says you can live really well for $2,000, that's also a couple. I mean,
Right.
So that's two people living, which if even as a single person, there's plenty of apartments that I've heard around. If you just need something simple for one person that you can get for $200 to $300.
Well, let me just throw out numbers there for you. So we had a really nice house rented. It was $1,200. It was a great deal, but it was going to go up to $1,500 from my landlord. And we had a nice yard and everything, which is still a great deal for where we were at in Florida because it was my friend. He rented it to us, and most of them are much more than that. So we got to we had a pretty nice loft crib over in Corfu. It was like for $700. If we can remember her name, we'll mention never to use her. But that was $700. We thought that was a pretty good deal. It was nice. It was clean. It was modern and all that stuff. And 5 minutes from the water. And then we come over here and it's $400. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, okay. And we've known a lot of people like, well, we're going to go to Thailand or Vietnam because it's only like $200. I'm like, how cheap do we have to go?
Right.
I mean, if you want to go there, that's your budget and that's your life. But right now, this is for me and for us, I hope. And so there's my take on the numbers.
Yeah, that's interesting because
And I think that's 75%.
Well, and
Yeah.
you kind of missed a little bit of we pay like $420 at the apartment we're in, which is a nice 2-bedroom, 2-bath, great view, amazing balcony, and that includes a car that we rent from the landlord.
That's different.
So,
that includes our car. It wouldn't happen for everyone,
but still, I mean, it is.
And let's talk about utilities. Utilities in the States. What was our electric? $300 alone.
Yeah, I would say average. Yeah, $275 was like the average. Maybe $250 at like the lowest.
And our highest electric bill here has been, I think, $68. Highest water bill has been maybe $40. It's usually in the $30s, and that's two people now. And then
Cell
what else we got?
phones.
Cell phone. My personal cell phone, AT&T in the States was $97, and here it's I think what do we pay? 25, right? 25 each?
Not even.
Not even
It's
25
less
each.
than that.
And then we have TV Wi-Fi. TV Wi-Fi is 25. TV and Wi-Fi per building. Now, don't get me wrong. We have 3 locations, but it's 25 each location,
Right.
which is
Which is still so cheap.
it's ridiculous. If you could do the math, I mean, well, you can do. People listening can do the numbers. You know,
Yeah.
if you're working on your budget, you can make it. You can do it.
Yeah, it's way more than affordable.
We've known a lot of people come through here in the since we've been here that have been on a really, really, really strict, tight budget, and they leave in the summer because of obvious reasons. It's too expensive.
Right.
Not for everybody. If you lock into something, you're lucky, but and then they come back, but they can make it, and there's a reason they come back because they can afford it and they want to stay here for the 8 or 9 months off season.
Right. And so that's a good point too. Like if people are during the summer season, everything triples in price basically.
Especially in Saranda because it
Easily.
is
It's
a
easily.
resort town.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're as an expat, you guys are taking advantage of obviously long-term leases with places and everything that, which is where the big savings is. If you're like Nomad or like us, like we're just coming through for a few months at a time, the timing of that's pretty important as well. Like obviously we're here in April and May, so we're still in the off season, so we're able to find deals like Eric and Jamie are talking about as well. But if we came in July or August, then it would not be a deal.
No, it would not.
Yeah, the cheapest, there was a couple kids here last year that didn't lock in and they ended up staying into the summer months and they were bouncing around from apartment to apartment. And if they were lucky enough to find one that was a month stay, it was usually around 900. I think Sean.
Oh, that was Sean. Yeah, Sean
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, why? Why do you do that?
But he didn't really have an option.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like us. So when we were in Florida as well, like we spent two winters there. It's the same like the snowbird pricing. So
Yeah.
like when we were in Treasure Island, we'd stay there. I think one year we stayed for like 2,000 is what for accommodations, rent, utilities, and everything included.
that's really not terrible.
Which sounds about close to like when you add everything up, fairly close to what you guys were paying. But that was what's I going with that?
I just asked maybe you're just talking about pricing, but I just asked my buddy. He's going on the 30th
To Treasure Island.
to Treasure
Okay.
Island, the 30th through, no, that's not true, 27th to the 2nd. And this is in
Sunset
May
Beach.
and June.
Yeah, May and June.
And he's doing $150 a night, which I thought was all right. And but they're whacking them at the end for cleaning and a bunch of taxes that, and like, you can't question taxes. So anyway, being so 6 nights, $150 a night, ended up being, and he said it still ended up being like $1,500 after taxes and cleaning. Like that's a lot. It's a lot for a week.
That is-
1 week,
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
and that doesn't include drinking.
Right. I know.
Drinking and food.
The most important part.
Exactly. Especially in Florida.
Getting
In Florida.
Getting
yeah.
a sunburn,
Treasure Island,
getting a
Sunset
sunburn
Beach.
is free.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like.
But drinking enough beer to pass out to get the sunburn.
Let's talk about that. Costs too. Like, there's not just the costs for beers and food and things like that are also a big important factor wherever we go. And like we've noticed, like when we were in Florida, like Treasure Island wasn't really terribly expensive as far as the states are concerned. Like you could still get, you could get like a beer for.
You could find your local joints for sure.
Yeah, you can get a beer for
Yeah.
$6
You can sniff it
somewhere.
up, just like anywhere, I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
And then here, it's still like God, way less than that. I mean, like here, we're drinking some Goldens while we do this interview, and Goldens are 250 lek.
For a big one, though.
For a big one.
Yeah, for a tall boy. That's probably $5.50 in the States right now.
Yeah,
No doubt about that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you're talking, and that's a huge savings when you look at beers, food.
Food is cheaper,
Yeah.
and probably even better for you. Fruit and vegetables are great if you like that kind of stuff. The meat, there's the chicken is abundant. The veal is abundant. Pork is abundant. Meat is like cow. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, a little harder.
So
to
if you
find
really
that.
like steak,
Yeah.
but chicken and pork and veal are fantastic.
Lamb.
Steak is a little funny.
There's a good
It's just
amount
too.
of lamb
It's just
too.
too tough.
Yeah.
And we like meat. We like salad too, but and pizza. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, and the salads, of course, are great here too because you've got, like you said, the vegetables are all fresh and just so good.
Yeah, so I'll go to the butcher and what is it, about a kilo of fresh ground beef. So you'll look at the beef. It's a big hunk of beef and he'll grind it fresh right there for you. And I believe a kilo is around 1,500,
Can't remember.
15 to 1,600 like,
Oh, for
which
veal?
is
For
15
pork?
to
pork?
for beef, ground beef.
Yeah, maybe
So-
more. I don't know.
I think it's right around 15 or 1,600 for a kilo of ground beef, and fresh ground.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, you have to remember that it's all like fresh here. So is the produce, we've noticed.
the produce is
Everything every day is fresh. Every day.
yeah.
There's very little that's not stocked fresh every day.
I mean, it's nice too. You can just walk down the promenade and you can find guys that are selling fish that they caught
Yeah.
that day too. Mussels, fish.
Oh yeah,
everything.
the
Every
fish
morning.
market.
Every single morning they come in.
Yeah.
Never one day off.
And
Never.
it's mussel season. If you like mussels, it just came into season. I don't know if you guys have had any.
Oh, well,
yet.
that's good to know.
No, not yet.
No.
We've been told
To go.
where to go.
Amazing, amazing.
Where?
And a lot of places you go, you could get them prepared, and it's like 450 lek. So that's like $4.50 for a giant bowl of mussels.
Well, where'd you get them? Where we get them the other night? Right up by. It used to be Summer
Yeah.
Kiss. Now it's called.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember. Never can. Argoyle or something like that. But it's up by your area.
Yeah.
And she had them the other night, and I had the calamari, and I think both of them were under 1,000 lek, which is roughly $10.
Yeah.
And
Or you
couple
could buy
beers,
mussels from the market. I think last year they were a kilo for like $2.50 or something. It was nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like that's
such a
it
good
is.
deal.
That's the one. I'm like, no, this must be wrong. They must have this marked wrong. It must cost more in labor to get those in there. I don't understand what's happening. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take 4.
Right.
the same with the fish. So like you said, you walk down the promenade and the guys are out every morning. So there's fresh fish. Just
Fresh fish every day.
it's cool. That's something that's pretty neat, and especially because all the little markets too. Same with like all your veggies and produce and stuff. You're just pick, and it's what's in season. Is
Yeah.
Right.
So everything's just super fresh and delicious.
Yep.
Most vegetables are in season all year. Strawberries are in now. Mussels are in now. There's not too much that isn't in all.
Watermelon will be a summer one.
Yeah, but most things are in all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And before we continue with our interview with Jamie and Eric, we want to take a quick moment to ask you to share this episode with anyone you might know who is curious about Albania or even moving abroad to start a new life. You can also support this podcast by subscribing or following wherever you may be listening. And of course, for our superfans and those who are getting some real value, you can also buy us a glass of wine. You can check the show notes for other easy ways to show your support. Now back to our interview with Jamie and Eric.
So yeah, let's kind of move into some of the challenges that you've faced in Saranda. Just like language barrier, cultural differences.
Oh, I'll start.
That's all
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, being a lazy American, I've never really had a difficult time with the language because unfortunately, Americans, and this is no offense to Americans, but we're a lazy culture. And if we don't have to learn another language, we probably won't. Unless you're so into it, you will.
It's true.
But even Albanians, the old guys, no. The old women, definitely not. But most of the younger people, I would say, anybody under 40, I would say, know English. At least enough to get through with a conversation. They won't really come up to you and talk to you, but if you go up to them, I think they're more than happy to help you. And they know enough English where you can get by and make you feel like an idiot because you should know more of the other language that you're living in that country. Barriers, really haven't had too many barriers. I think the thing you have to get in your brain, and I tell 2 people that are thinking about moving here, is like, look, you gotta forget about your football and forget about your baseball because you're not going to be watching that live anymore. You're going to have to stream it in somehow, and it's just different. You gotta get it in your brain. It's going to be different.
Right.
So, and I've had this in my brain for 30 years. But it's just the barriers. I don't know. It's I don't think I've run into really anything. I just, I have what's that thing on your phone?
Google Translate.
Google Translate. I go to I have a car, so I go to the mechanic and I just translate to him, or I write it down, or I go to the point to this or point to that, and they help you out.
Yep.
They're more than happy to sell something to you, for sure.
Sure.
So that's how I don't think it's any huge barrier. I had my landlord in the States said, well, what are you going to Greece? What are you moving to Greece for? Nobody speaks English there. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Everybody speaks English, really. If you don't, then she does.
Right. Yes.
It's not that hard. It's no big deal. Yeah. And it does make you feel like you should learn more. And I mean, maybe I know 20 words. She probably knows 40. It's enough to get us through the day.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's something that, it's a huge advantage for us, especially as Americans, and I know that we appreciate that everywhere we go. But I think too, you try to learn your basic phrases and stuff like that, to communicate as best you can with people. But we do have these wonderful tools, like you said, like Google Translate.
What's your biggest? Probably me.
That might be true. I would say the biggest language isn't a big deal, like you said. Everyone pretty much speaks English, or you can communicate with Google Translate. Like, we've even made some friends at a couple of places where they don't speak maybe just a little bit of English, but we'll send them messages.
Right. Yeah.
Go on Google Translate and send them messages, and then they send them back, and we Google Translate. So we actually will have a conversation on text message.
Really?
Yeah. There's a couple of places like that. Also, there is a feature on Google Translate, which some people don't know about, and it's the camera.
Oh.
So one of the things in restaurant cooking, finding supplies, so trying to figure out what different spices are, or what different products are, what's flour, what's sugar, what's salt. So the camera on Google Translate definitely comes in handy when you can go in the store and use that to translate and look at the products.
Yeah.
I
use that a lot.
Yeah. That I would say is probably one of the hardest, or was the hardest thing. Now I know where everything is and what I'm pretty much looking at, and I know a lot of the Albanian words. I can't say them, but I can read them well enough to know. And going to different stores, like there is a store for your produce, there's the store for your meat, there's the store for your seafood, there's a hardware store, but there's a hardware store for basic hardware, there's a hardware store for countertops, there's a hardware store for paint, then there's like 17 different stores that you have to, like, if you're trying to do a project, you're not just going to Home Depot and picking up supplies. You're going to like 7 places to find supplies.
Not the end of the world, though.
It is not the end of the world.
Makes it part of the fun and makes you learn more.
It definitely does. But I would say, that would be one of the harder barriers. Other than that, everyone's super friendly. You don't feel pressure from anyone. They'll try as hard as you're trying to communicate with them, so it works out. At the end of it, you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and again, that's just part of I don't know. It's interesting because you get to settle into life in here, and that's the one thing that people I think forget when they leave the States is that a lot of people just expect everything to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
You go into your supermarket, you get everything you need.
Convenience.
Right, the convenience.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've noticed that too in our travels. Is we like it. We actually like having to go to the grocery store like a couple times a week. We basically get groceries for like 3 days at a time. And
I also like that, and people probably should do that. I also like that, though.
Well,
and not just the grocery, but any store.
I think the
Yeah.
biggest difference, though, going to the grocery store in the States compared to going to a grocery store here is there's a market on every corner. So even 2-minute walk from your house, there's a grocery store. So you can easily go there. You don't have to drive.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. I mean,
Yes.
you could be out
That's a huge
or do your
thing.
10-minute walk, go for dinner. On your way back home, you're going to hit the market and grab your bits and pieces, you know? So it's easier in that sense because you don't have to worry about driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice because we kind of use it as we plan it into our routine. You know, hey, we got to go for a walk today. And so on our walk on the way back, we know, hey, we'll walk this way so we can hit, you know, Big Market, or we can hit like one of the other, you know, Planet Market or whatever, and make that part of the routine. So
It gets us out.
it gets us
It gets
out
us
of the
out
house.
of
Yeah.
sitting in front of our computers, and we actually get to walk around and see people and
Get some exercise,
see
get some,
things.
some fresh vegetables, fresh fruits,
Yeah.
you know, instead of like,
On the promenade,
Yeah, anywhere.
on the
Yeah.
beach, basically,
Yeah.
you're walking 15 feet from the water to go get whatever you're getting.
Yep.
yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, big.
And you don't have to buy in bulk. Like,
Right.
I always felt in the States, because I didn't like going to the grocery store. So it would be one of those things where you go once a week and kind of stock up
Right.
on everything. Where here, it's like you just said, you take your walk, your daily walk, and you pick up a tomato, you pick up an onion, pick up a couple potatoes and a burger patty or something. And that's dinner for tonight. So everything is just so fresh.
Yeah.
Even your dinner at home is fresh stuff, you know, which I like that.
Yeah. No, I think we really enjoy that too. I think that's more of like the European culture, you know, where it's just, you just go and get your
Probably
supplies.
daily. They probably do it daily.
Oh,
here, as opposed to twice weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
I'm
about the
sure.
fresh bread too?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's later. We'll be eating that in an hour.
Well, yeah. And like, and speaking of food and drinks, and let's kind of like move into what your business is here in Saranda.
Oh, it's food and drinks.
Yeah.
I think where you're going with that is how did we decide on this type of business? But we could have probably did something. I don't know what we were looking for exactly, but I guess it just fell in together since she's been in the business for a long time, all her life apparently. And then, I mean, I've been going to these businesses all my life. And the last business was cleaning bars and restaurants for the last 7 or 8 years or something like that. And it's a rough business, but I can't think of another business other than maybe I would like to have like a market. In Corfu actually, I said, how about a flower shop would be nice. How much pressure could there be in having a flower and a plant shop?
You have to keep them alive.
You're gonna have to bleep this, but every motherfucker has a plant shop. Like here they have coffee shops.
Yeah.
There's a plant shop, a coffee shop, and a flower shop. And then 14 feet away, there's another 3. I'm like, so, but over here, anyway, I thought it'd be no pressure, but it ended up being, since we've been in the business for so long, it seemed like something perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
To open a
Like good-
restaurant.
But, the expats they're very, it doesn't have to be American, it could be the travelers, the backpackers. When they come in, they like to tell their story, they like to ask questions. It's not a big deal. They like to eat. They totally clean their plate, and you feel good about feeding them, or not giving them, but just
Provided them.
they just want a nice meal and speak some English and have a good time for even if it's an hour before they catch the boat.
Yeah.
And I think we've had a pretty good since we've opened in February last year at the other location, and then coming over to this location, which is much, much better. We still have a really good reception on people, and they like the food. We've learned so many things over the course of a year and a half that, even tweaking the menu and keeping it more simple, and, pretty nice list of the booze up there, and, even working the beers, and so
Yeah.
I think they're happy coming. They're happy just coming in and not everybody wants to have souvlaki every day.
Sure.
You know, give me an American style cheeseburger
Yeah,
or something,
exactly.
and then I can get on the boat and happy.
Yeah,
drive.
everyone wants a little taste of. You want a little bit of home.
Yeah.
To settle in, especially if you're in a new place that's.
And we do the
obviously
best we can.
Completely foreign to you.
She does 90% of the menu, and I think it's I think it's a pretty legit menu. So I'm pretty happy with it. I could live probably without a couple things. Maybe we'll add a couple things, but that's down the road.
Well, we've eaten a couple of the different dishes that you make, and they're all very, very delicious. So,
Thanks.
and that's one, and like you mentioned earlier about the fact that people come through, even if it's for a day or for whatever, they come through here. It's a sense of home. It's also, you guys are a fantastic resource for people too, like to help kind of give them a heads up on what to do,
Yeah, information,
where to get groceries or what have you. I mean, like for us, that was a huge resource when we first got here. I mean, it was like a jump start at us instead of having to figure it out on our own for like wandering around for like a week. You know, within like a day or two, we were like, okay, now we know where. Here's the different markets to get this or this type of thing. Or
Most of it's opinion. You know, I like certain things better than other places, and that's just opinion. But it's just like sometimes you got to go out and learn it on your own. You know, if this place is not for you, then it's not for you. Yeah. But that's how, you know, I could tell you all day long where I like. Doesn't mean it's right.
I do wish that we would have had maybe something more like us when we first got here too, to steer us in a couple different directions. I do feel like we may have made a couple bad choices where I don't want to say we were led astray, but no one said, maybe you shouldn't be dealing with that guy, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I wish there was someone, kind of like you said, where you show up and you have a couple questions and someone's like, this is where to go. This is what you're looking for.
Right.
When you're asking, you know, where can I find this, or how can I do this, or, you know, do you know of apartments, or so. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's nice for me to be able to offer an idea to people and try to help them as much as possible.
Right.
Try. Like you said, we hear stuff all the time, every day. And just like when we give somebody an idea, it's just an idea. It's just our opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. Go check it out on your own. We try to help, but other people come in, and there's a lot of expats are still in their own zone. They don't get it yet. So yeah. Anyway, so that's that's my take on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's important. All you can do is, you know, you can. What do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't
Make it drink.
make it drink. So
Yeah.
you point people in the direction. Everyone has a different opinion. They'll.
Everybody has an opinion. I don't think they necessarily mean anything bad by it. It's just like some people talk way too much.
He's looking at me right now for some reason.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I'm like,
No,
you can bleep that out. It's fine. I didn't mean that. That's but you know, it's a gift. Talking is a gift. But I mean, some people just they're in their own zone.
Yeah.
So tight they can't get out of it. Like, you know, this new people that we have coming in lately. I'm like, God damn it, dude, you gotta let it go. You're too new to be talking like this. We come here. I'll say this specifically. People come here so they don't have to hear about that stuff in the States anymore, the politics and the religion and this fight and that fight and everything. So we come here because we're over it. And we want to be, I don't say we want to be left alone. We just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Don't want to be inundated with it.
Will we go back to the States? I don't know about her. She can speak for herself. I doubt it. I doubt it. Of course, I'll go back to visit my brothers and stuff like that, or my kids, but not to live. I don't think so. Not at this point.
Yeah.
I agree. But getting back to the restaurant part and bar part, opening the bar here, we would have never been able to do this
Oh yeah.
back in the States, and
Good
especially for the cost that we did it.
Right.
So it's
In Treasure Island alone, just right off the bat, a liquor license in Pinellas County is easy $250,000.
Holy crap.
A business license in Albania is 100 lek, which is basically $1.
$1. Wow.
You can buy your liquor anywhere you want to, as long as it has a sticker on it, which is there's no big deal about that. You can buy it wholesale anywhere, and then you can buy your beer anywhere. Sometimes it's delivered. You buy your food anywhere. It's all regulated. I mean, not regulated, but it's all stamped. It's all legal. It's all good. But you don't have. There's no. The man is looking at you.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
we
less
pay
interference.
taxes. We have accountant. She pays. We have to pay whatever the hell it is.
Social tax. or
Social tax and municipal tax and this and
Rent
that
tax.
rent tax. There's taxes, which is weird. It's
But at the end of the day, it is still
keeps us out of Albanian
much-
jail.
yeah, but it still is much less expensive.
Much less
than,
expensive than the States.
Yeah.
Right.
So that kind of is also why we decided that the bar and restaurant would be plus. I mean, I've done it forever.
We talked earlier, and you said that you wanted to start a business, like wherever you guys moved to. And again, your intention wasn't specifically to start a restaurant or a pub, right? Did you have other things in mind, or
I
was
don't
that
know.
kind
It
of from the
probably
beginning?
was
Yeah.
subconscious. You know,
Yeah.
it probably was because we've been doing it for so long. I can't. Originally, I thought about. I think I got business cards made up when we first got here about used bar equipment. I'm like,
You
I don't
did.
see one in town. I've been here a week. What the hell do I know? I drive around now. There's 4. They've probably been here 30 years.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not. I'm an idiot. So I'm like. So then we said, and I think it just fell into place. So, and it didn't. I mean, we didn't take too long doing it. We got here December 20th. The first bar was open. The first bar, like we have a chain. The bar in Kodra across over there was open February 20.
It was like the very end of February.
So that's like 2 months, right?
Oh wow. So you got here. So it was only a couple months then
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
months.
since you landed in Albania.
Yeah,
And then
that's
opened
what
up
she was
your
talking
bar.
about. Probably one of our
Okay.
mistakes because we were kind of in a rush, and we didn't do enough research, and we thought season was coming because they kept saying, "Oh, it's March, it's March." It's not March, it's July.
Right.
And coming from Florida, season's all year.
Right.
So we were like, we gotta get going, and they lied to us. The old landlords, they completely lied to us, and it's uncommon, really, on a Albanian lying to you, but these did, and it charged us way too much, and it's part of the learning curve. And so I didn't like the location, I didn't like the building, I didn't like the street, but we fell for it. We did it, wasted too much money, got to know a lot of people, a lot of new expats. Did a good thing over there.
It was a stepping stone.
Stepping stone, and then over here we tweaked it pretty good. Much better location, much better price, better landlord, better view, everything. So,
Way better bar.
Huh?
Way better bar.
way better bar, yeah, better bar, better neighbors, everything is better. But that's how you learn, man. That's how you can't blame anybody but yourself. You can't. So I'll take responsibility for that.
Well, I guess the good
And by
thing,
me, I mean Eric points at Jamie.
I was gonna say, I guess one of the nice things is making these mistakes. Though here, I'm sure would be way less. The cost on that mistake is far less than what
Yes.
would be if you're back in the States.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes it a little bit easier, I think, to
Swallow.
Yeah.
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 Well, I dodged-
You're not shooting yourself in the foot because you
I
did
dodged
like
a-
one wrong move.
I dodged a bullet in
Great.
the States. I was really pissed off at the beginning because I was going to be partners with this one guy, and her old boss, my old friend, they're still open, and I'm sure they're doing fine. But their rent alone is $6,600 a month. You know who you are, and I'm, that's a lot of coffee to sell before you turn the lights on.
Yeah.
I drank a lot of coffee there and beer, but I'm so glad it didn't work out, because if it did work out, I'd still be there. I'd be stuck there, and then
Right.
my half-ass dream, whatever, I'd still be stuck there.
right.
And then, but my rent here is not that
Yeah. Significantly less.
at all.
Yeah.
It's like a huge
If
significant.
you'd like to know my rent here, it's €250 a month for this building, for this unit right here.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's pretty ridiculous. And that's a 3-year lease. And that gets me through right till I can suck up on my 401k and stop this craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, in those, like the
I
price
didn't
that
Yeah, I didn't
you
expect it
just
to be
said.
that. I mean,
Right.
I called him that day and he just told me
So-
it's like 250. I'm like, $250. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
So-
probably would have went with
Your total cost for a 3-year lease is $9,000. He's paying, that's a month and a half of the rent in the other, a
Yeah.
month and a half
Yeah.
versus 36 months.
Yeah.
So the
So-
first location, like he said, it was a pretty steep rent there. It was $800 a month.
Okay.
Okay. That's
So-
still really cheap.
Yeah, but and the
Not
location
according to
was
here
worse.
though. So that's when I kicked myself
Right.
in the ass.
Yeah.
Thinking about that, we got suckered right in there. Like, because I remember the conversation with that guy. He goes, well, you said we heard you offered it to this your Albanian guy up the road here for 500. He goes, no, I don't even know him. Blah blah blah. And so they lied to us from the beginning. Which is, again, I'm not bashing Albanians. I'm bashing them because he
Yeah.
lied to us from the beginning. Albanians are typically quite helpful. This family was not.
Right.
Well-
There's always bad apples everywhere. But
Yeah.
They-
But it was I have to take some responsibility for it because we fell
Absolutely.
for it, and that's the way it goes. And now we're out of there. Couldn't be happier.
So we talked a little bit about starting a pub here, or starting a business here. Is there? I think I kind of already know the answer to this, but I want to know like how we talked about the cost a little bit, but how easy was it for you guys to get the business license, get things set up, and like literally be in business? Was that a big hurdle, or was it
paperwork.
like easy?
Just
A lot of
mostly paperwork.
Yeah. I will agree with that. Yeah. Difficult? No. Paperwork? No. Red tape? I don't want to say red tape because that sounds too political, but the business license was 100 lek, which is $1, which I don't even know how they could afford to pay the 2 girls sitting at the office. I'm confused. Let's see. Signing a lease and going to the notary is probably the single worst thing that's ever happened to me, not only in my life, but definitely in Albania. It takes, in the States, I'm a notary in the States and I'll stamp anything.
Great.
Done. $10 out. But whatever. I don't even read it. I'm just kidding. But I've had this stamp for like 4 years. I've done 2 things. I haven't even been there. But here you go in and it's like
It's an
it
all-day
is so.
process.
It is at least if you can get out in an hour, you're lucky. It's probably an hour and a half. It's horrible. So if you can get away with doing that or not doing that, it's great.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. Everything else is just paperwork, getting your stuff together. You have to have a pretty good sized folder before you go to the notary. You collect the stuff, and then of course there's residency. I'm sure that's another question. But to start a business from start to finish, $400 or $500, not including inventory and stuff like that, but paperwork,
Sure.
everything, $400 or $500.
Well, I don't even know if the paperwork parts were that much. That
Probably.
was mostly,
Yeah.
I think most of that stuff actually comes into the residency part.
Yeah, you're probably right. The residency is the one that's starting to add up, but even that's not it. But that's another.
Other than finding a
Moving
location with a decent rent, which we kind of talked about before.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the harder things because we were just on foot looking around for a while, and then to be able to find a place that would rent, that didn't want to sell. Like the last place that we had was furnished, so we moved over here. We did have to do the furniture hurdle and try to figure out where to find this and that.
But that's okay. That was better because we were so locked in with the landlords over there.
Yeah.
It was just
And one of the
Terrible.
things that did happen when we were looking to open the business was they want all the money up front. So
Okay.
you're renting a commercial space
Okay.
and you want to lease it for a year, they want 6 months up front. Or they want a year up front. There was one place that we talked to and they wanted the full year up front.
they're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, they're
It
going
was-
back to they think Americans have money because you're talking about the one at the far end
I was talking about the one
upstairs.
above Alpha, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go with the one at the far end first. I'll make it quick. So we went over there, and the guy that was introducing us, he's like, "Well, we want 100,000 US, which is rare that they ask for US. 100,000 US up front, and then like 9,000 a month." I'm like, "Are you fucking high? Like you're out of your goddamn mind." I'm like, who's in charge with this operation? Because I know I'm not high, and I'm like, Anyway,
Yeah.
but the second one above in the middle, right here
On
in
the
the middle of the
promenade.
promenade, they wanted 26,000 up front for the year, and I'm like, okay, that was way before the other one I just told you about, and I'm like, you're insane. Without any
Equipment
No, it doesn't.
or-
I mean, let's be honest. It gets cold here in the winter, so you have to have some protection. It was great.
was
The
open
view was
air.
awesome,
Yeah.
but there was no way it was going to be. I'm like, you're out of your mind. So you really have to negotiate with. I have a really good landlord now. We negotiated back and forth. We have a good deal. I'm not saying every Albanian is wants all the money up front, but
No, but
Some
most
do.
of the places that we looked at, they definitely did want.
yeah, because they've been probably run on in the past. Because if you have to put, let's just say the cheaper one, 26,000 up front. Well, then now you're 26,000 late on your whole bankroll and your budget. So now I'm like, well, plus I got to pay, yada yada yada. So now I'm really light on funds. Not everybody has money sitting around. So anyway, so they ran on their on the Albanian landlords, which okay, they shouldn't have done that. They were French and American, right? One was American, one was French. Doesn't
The
matter.
people that were there
They still
before,
ran
yeah.
on them in the middle of the night, took all their shit and just left. I'm like, okay, that's not cool. So, but you got to look around and you got to be smart and don't be knowing what I know now from last year. Don't agree to the higher amount. You'll find a place. You'll find a place. Just take a minute. Come talk to us. We'll help you find a place. There's 3 places right around the corner here that are less than $400 a month. Right here with waterfront.
Yeah.
Come talk to us.
Come
I know
talk.
there's the landlord walking by right there. I have 2 of them, and he's a super nice guy. I guess to answer your question it's not the end of the world. I would say on a scale of hardness 1 to 10,
3.
I would say 3 at the most.
Okay.
And that's including 1 solo being the notary.
Right.
So maybe 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not kidding about
Yeah.
the notary thing. It's just the worst thing ever. I can't imagine why it's so bad.
So we'll go and wrap this up. And I had one final question, and that was basically what advice would you give anybody else who's interested in coming to Albania to start a business?
Don't wait so long. Do it now. Put your shit down at work, walk out.
Yeah.
Take whatever free stuff you can take from the company and leave.
Staplers. And,
Yeah, sell your stuff and don't wait any longer.
Yeah,
I
don't look
waited till
back.
55. This is a couple that's here now. It's blank and blank. They're maybe 30, and I'm like, man, you little shits are ahead of the game, man. I
Yeah.
wish I would have did this when I was 30. I had no idea. I thought I just had to wait this long. You don't.
Yeah. Don't wait.
Don't wait. Do it.
It's not nearly as scary.
You gotta have
or-
a couple bucks with you though. But you don't have to be rich. Just come over here and start a new living, start a new life.
It's not as scary as everyone thinks it is.
Albania is definitely not scary. For the record, Albania has less than 1% major crime in the country. Tirana has most of it, and that's just drugs and mafia, and that's just Tirana, and that's at night. Down here, you have a couple little things with that petty crime stuff, which is nothing. So 1%. Everybody has a bad vibe about Albania. Don't fall for it.
well,
it's
and we
not
don't.
true.
And you don't have gun crime. You don't have shootings. You don't have that kind of stuff or violent crime.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the lowest crime. Saw this a couple weeks ago. It's like one of the lowest crime rates in
Europe,
in Europe.
yeah, probably
Yeah,
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't fall for it.
Yeah.
Come here to visit. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do, stay. Come to the pub, have a beer, and we'll try to talk you through it. We'll help you with it, whatever we can.
Yeah, I say do it though. My mom just retired, and she's like, I'm gonna have to still work a couple days just because my Social Security isn't gonna pay all the bills. I'm like, or you can just move to Albania. I'm like, or you
Exactly.
could, because like he said, she'd be able to live really comfortable on
Yeah.
her Social Security here,
Yeah.
which is a big deal.
That's a huge deal for a lot of people. A lot of people are trying to find, because maybe they had some event in their life that drained their savings or whatever because of a health situation or what have you, or maybe they just didn't prepare properly. But however however they're in that situation, there's tons of people who have maybe just theirs, or if they're lucky enough, they have 2 Social Security, if they're incomes, or maybe a small pension or something like that, But yeah, you don't have to stay in the States and, try to move to the middle of Iowa or something like that in order to afford to.
I certainly wish
A cabin with no water or
Right.
electric.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like,
Yeah.
Off the grid.
But I mean, that's just.
Unless you want to,
Right,
unless you're
yeah.
into
Well,
that sort of thing.
There's a great line from that movie. There is no normal life. It's just life. This is how you learn. I mean, I had no idea. I was married that time and married the last time, and that ended in 2019, and I had to started thinking about stuff that you go through a phase of life, and it makes you think a little bit more what you want to do, and But I always wanted to know. I wanted to get out early. And get out, I mean, retire. Retire, I mean, still have to kind of do something, but not
Semi-retire. Yeah.
Gotta suck it up for a few years, but I'm happy with that. I've never been happier in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Probably the last 25 years, and I'm 57. I've never been happier in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I sleep good. I'm healthy. I'm at a good weight. I'm not trying to be weird about it. I'm saying I just feel good about myself overall. And I think that's a big deal.
It's
In your
hugely
brain.
important.
Keep your brain clean.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Absolutely. And you got to do.
I can't speak for her, but I think, well, you say something. I don't know how you feel. I mean, you're youth on your side. So how do you feel about the decision, and how you feel about your health and stuff?
I feel great. No, but I would say to everyone, just if you're thinking about it, if thoughts cross your mind, just do it. I mean, get up and go. Like I said, it's the stress, and stress is what's going to kill you at the end of the day for the most part. But
Not here.
it's easy, and it's so much easier than I even kind of thought it would be. I would say selling in the States was probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I had a 22-foot championship shuffleboard table that I got off a guy that I got a steal from, and I didn't want to get rid of it. And I almost cried. And I had two 1961 vintage, perfect condition barber chairs I bought from my original barber for whatever, and I didn't want to get rid of those. I ended up selling them. It's all replaceable. You can find it again down the road. There's very little things that aren't replaceable, like my Air Force stuff that I have collected over the years, 30 years ago. I still keep that in a Corsa box, but clothes, shoes, crap from the house, it's all replaceable. Buy it again down the road if you have to, or don't.
Or it is quite amazing to see what you don't need.
You will be very
Right.
what's
much you
the
can
word?
live
You'll
with
be
less.
so
Yeah.
liberated. You'll be so liberated when you. Well, you guys should know. You know.
Well,
How
they did.
liberated did you
Yeah.
feel when you said, "Huh"? We had 4 cars, all gone. I'm not trying to sound weird.
You just don't miss it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait
No,
to cancel my insurance.
You don't miss it.
You
No,
don't.
I
I
don't.
mean, you found that out.
Oh, I was borderline hoarder.
Yeah.
I had my office. You could barely
too.
walk
Yeah.
into my
You're not
office
borderline.
because I had like tables with stuff on it, and then underneath the table was jam packed full of things, and like you name it, you could barely walk in there, and
And how that
I didn't
caused
realize-
you so much stress.
it stressed me out.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how much that was causing stress for me until we made the decision to sell everything we owned and into travel. And we started going through that process, and it was just like, I'm going through all these boxes and these bookshelf full of books that half of them I haven't even read yet because I just got them at a deal at Books A Million or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to read this one day. And then I never did.
It was a good sale.
Yeah, it's a good sale. Exactly.
You couldn't
Like,
pass it up.
I was a really good trained consumer.
Consumer,
You're
yeah.
like,
I wish we
there's
would've-
there's still room under the table. I can
I
fit
wish
3
we-
more books.
I wish we
getting
would have
them.
just sold more or all of it. And then because I think at that point we were maybe a little timid, saying, maybe there's a small chance we might fail and come back. But it was really thinking about it even after the day I left. There was no point to fail, because there was one guy who said he sits at this bar, and I heard he's still sitting there. And he goes, they'll be back. Everybody comes back. And that pissed me off. I'm like, you know what? I had no intention of going back, but once he said that, it was more incentive to me to make whatever I was going to do happen. And I really never failed, certainly not in a business in my life, because I think this is number 7, always sold them, always made a profit. Might not have been a lot, but it still made it. And then I was like, you know what? That pissed me off, the way that old man said that. And like, of course, another old man 20 years before that, I was sitting in a bar. I know where this is going. And I'm crying the blues to the bartender, who had a nice outfit on, and thinking about moving to Florida at the time. And the guy leans over out of nowhere, and he pokes me. I was like, what the hell, old man? And he goes, stop talking about it. Get out of here. You'll be sitting here like I am in another 20 years. Let me tell you what, that got up my ass. I was out of that. This is in Columbia, Maryland. I was out of there in 4 days. I sold my stuff that was in my apartment to my landlord, loaded the crap in my car, which I didn't have much, and headed, I think, $1,100 I had in savings to Florida, and stayed with some really good old Air Force friends in Lakeland, Florida, and till I got a job, and that's how I got started in Florida. So do it.
Yep.
Don't sit around thinking about it. Do it. I'm the guy that's poking you right now, people. Do it.
Yes. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you guys
I
so
love
much. We wanted to thank Jamie and Eric for sharing their story. We really enjoyed getting to know both of them. They and the Dick and Devil's Pub were an integral part for us to meet other nomads from all over the world here in Saranda. That brings us to the end of this Nomadic Abundance episode. Thanks for spending time with us today, and we hope it has opened your eyes, maybe even dispelled some myths about Albania and moving abroad. If you're interested in hearing the full, extended version of this, including myths and perceptions of Westerners, the healthcare system in Albania, getting residency, and taxes in Albania, you can check out nomadicabundance.com. There, you can also learn how to get access to a growing collection of guides, ebooks, and resources for digital nomads, slow travelers, or retirees looking to live a more abundant life through slow travel or living abroad. Finally, don't forget to check out the show notes, where you'll find links to everything we discussed in the episode. And if you're interested in supporting this project, you can do so by sharing this episode. You can also buy us a glass of wine. Until next time, happy wandering.